Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Text 9 has no purpose, so I'll read it myself and then we'll responsibly chant text. From Brahma Kechitava Yan Tutadharma Meke Eke Param Sattasato Purusham Paresham Anye Bayanti Nava Shakti Yutam Param Tvam Kechit Mahapurusham Avyayam Atmatantram. Those who are known as the impersonalist Vedantists regard you as the impersonal Brahman. Others known as the Mimamsaka philosophers regard you as religion. The Sankhya philosophers regard you as the transcendental person who is beyond Prakriti and Purusha and who is the controller of even the demigods. The followers of the codes of devotional service known as the Pancha Ratras regard you as being endowed with 9 different potencies. And the Patanjali philosophers, the followers of Patanjali Muni, regard you as the supreme independent personality of Godhead, who has no equal or superior. Text 10, please repeat. Naham parayurishayo namarichi mukhya. Naham parayurishayo namarichi mukhya. Jananti yati rachitam kalu sattva sarga. Jananti yati advirachitam kalu sattva sarga. Yan mayaya mushita chetasa isha daitya. Yan mayaya mushita chetasa isha daitya. Matyadaya kimuta shashvata bhadra vritta. Matyadaya kimuta shashvata bhadra vritta. Naham paraya rishaya namarichi mukhya. Jananti yat virachitam kalu sattva sarga. Yan mayaya mushita chetasa isha daitya. Matyadaya kim uta shashvata bhadra vritta.
Naham parayushayo namarichi mukhya. Jananti yat virachitam kalu sattva sarga. Yanmayaya mushita chetasa isha daitya. Matyadaya kim udashashvada bhadra vritta.
Naham parayushayo namarichi mukhya. Jananti yad virachitam kalu sattva sarga. Yan mayaya mushita chetasa isha daitya. Matyadaya kimuta shashvata bhadra vritta.
Abhadravirta
Naham parayo Rushayo na marichi mukhya
Naham parayo Rasyo namarichi mukhya
Janati yad virachitam kalo sattva sargaha
Janati yad virachitam kalo sattva sarga
Yenmayaya musita cetasa isha daitya
Yanmayam muchita setsa istatya
Matya dayaha kim uta sasva abhadravrtaha
Matya daya kim uta sasvat abhadravirta.
Ladies, please.
Naham paraya rasayana murchi mukhya
Naham paraya rasya namarichi mukhya
Jananti yat virichitam kalu sattva sarga
Jananti yad virachitam kalo sattva sarga
Yanmayaya musita seta isa saitya
Yamayaya musita setsa istatya
Matyayaya kim utta sasvada padradavruta
Matya daya kim uta sasvat abhadravirta.
Na. Neither. Aham. I. Para ayu. That personality who lives for millions and millions of years. Lord Brahma. Rishaya. The seven rishis of the seven planets. Na. Not. Marichi Mukhya. Headed by Marichi Rishi. Jananti. No. Yat. By whom? The Supreme Lord. Virachitam. This universe. Which has been created. Kalu. Indeed. Sattva sargaha. Although born in the mode of material goodness. Yatmayaya. By the influence of whose energy. Mushita chetasa. Their hearts are bewildered. Isha. Oh my Lord. Daitya. The demons. Matya adaya. The human beings and others. Kimuta. What to speak of. Shashvat. Always. Abhadravritaha. Influenced by the base qualities of material nature. Translation prompted by His Divine Grace. Bhakti Swami, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. O my Lord, I, who am considered to be the best of the demigods, and Lord Brahma and the great rishis headed by Marichi are born of the mode of goodness. Nonetheless, we are bewildered by your illusory energy and cannot understand what this creation is. Aside from us, what is to be said of others like the demons and human beings who are in the base modes of material nature, Rajaguna and Tamaguna? How will they know you? Purport. Factually speaking, even those who are situated in the material mode of goodness can't understand the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. What then is to be said of those who are situated in Rajaguna and Tamaguna, the base qualities of material nature? How can we even imagine the Supreme Personality of Godhead? There are so many philosophers trying to understand the absolute truth, but since they are situated in the base qualities of material nature and are addicted to so many bad habits like drinking, meat eating, illicit sex, and gambling, how can they conceive of the personality of God, Supreme Personality of Godhead? For them it is impossible. For the present day, the Pancharatriki Vidhi, as enunciated by Narad Muni, is the only hope. Sri Rupa Goswami therefore has quoted the following verse from the Brahma Yamala. Shruti Smriti Purana Adi Pancharatra Vitim Vina Aikantiki Hareir Bhaktir Uppateva Kalpate. Devotional service of the Lord that ignores the authorized Vedic literatures like the Upanishads, Puranas, and Narada Pancharatra is simply an unnecessary disturbance in society. Bhakti Rasayana Sagar 1-101. Those who are very advanced in knowledge and are situated in a mode of goodness follow the Vedic instructions of the Shruti and Smriti and other religious scriptures, including the Pancharatriki Vithi. Without understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead in this way, one only creates a disturbance. In this age of Kali, so many gurus have sprung up, and because they do not refer to the Shruti, Smriti, Purana, Adi, Pancharatrika Vithi, they are creating a great disturbance in the world in regard to understanding the absolute truth. However, those who follow the Pancharatrika Vithi under the guidance of a proper spiritual master can understand the absolute truth. It is said, Pancharatrasya Kritsnasya Bhakta tu Bhagavan Swayam. The Pancharatra system is spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, just like Bhagavad Gita. Vasudeva Sharana Vidur Anja Saiva. The truth can be understood only by one who has taken shelter of the lotus feet of Vasudeva. Bahunam Janmanamante Gyanavan Mam Prapadete. Vasudeva Sarvamiti Sa Mahatma Sudur Lava. After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. Bhagavad Gita 7:19. Only those who have surrendered to the lotus feet of Vasudeva can understand the absolute truth. Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prajita Janaya Shubhairagyam Gyanam Chayat Ahaitukam. By rendering devotional service unto the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna, one immediately acquires causeless knowledge and detachment from the world. Bhagavatam 1-7. Therefore, Vasudeva Bhagavan Sri Krishna personally teaches in Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Dharmat Parityaja Mamekam Sharanam Braja. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. Bhagavad Gita 18:66. Bhaktya mama bijanati yavanyaschasmi tattvataha. One can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Supreme Personality as He is only by devotional service. Bhagavad Gita 18:55. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is not properly understood, even by Lord Shiva or Lord Brahma, what to speak of others, but He can be understood by the process of Bhakti Yoga. Maya Sakta Manapartha Yogam Yunjan Vadashaya Samshayam Samagram Mam Yathagyasesita Chinun. If one practices Bhakti Yoga by taking shelter of Vasudeva Krishna, simply by hearing Vasudeva speak about himself, one can understand everything about him. Indeed, one can understand him completely. Samagram. Tvam Brahma Kejitavana Abhayanti Tadharmam Eke Param Sadasato Purusham Paresham Manye Vayanti Navashakti Idam Param Tvam Kechin Mahapurusham Avye Madantram. Those who are known as the impersonalist Vedantists regard you as the impersonal Brahman. Others known as the Mimamsaka philosophers regard you as religion. The Sankhya philosophers regard you as the transcendental person who is beyond Prakriti and Purusha and who is the controller of even the demigods. The followers of the codes of devotional service known as the Pancha Ratras regard you as being endowed with 9 different potencies, and the Patanjala philosophers, followers of Patanjali Muni, regard you as the supreme independent personality of Godhead, who has no equal or superior. Naham paraya Rasayana mukhya jananti yad virachitam kalu satta sarga yanmaya mushita chetta saisha daitya Matyadaya kim utta shashvrata bhadra vritta. O my Lord, I, who am considered to be the best of the demigods, and Lord Brahma, and the great rishis, headed by Marichi, are born of the mode of goodness. Nonetheless, we are bewildered by your illusory energy and cannot understand what this creation is. Aside from us, what is to be said of others, like the demons and human beings, who are in the base modes of material nature, Rajaguna and Tamaguna? How will they know you? So, again, these are glorifications of the Supreme Lord by Lord Shiva. And he explains that everyone is establishing relationships with the Supreme Lord according to their level of consciousness and the desires, but no one really knows Krishna. And people can't even understand what's Krishna's creation, what to speak of Krishna. And Lord Shiva speaks from his own experience, because this is again based on the Mangalacharana of Bhagavatam, right? The very first verse of Bhagavatam. Mangalacharana means auspicious invocation or introduction. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Janmahi Asya Yata Anvayat Itaratas Chatishu Abhijanasvarat Tene Brahma Hridaya Vikavaya Mukyanti Yatsuraya Tejavari Dinam Yatharim Vayeta Visargo Visha Danna Svene Sada Nirastako Kohakam Satyam Paramdimahi. Right? So it's very clearly explained there what is the special position of the Supreme Lord Vasudeva, right? Vasudeva means one who is all-pervading, existing everywhere. And it says that Muhyanti Yat Surayaha, even Sura, even the great demigods are bewildered by the Supreme Lord. Everyone, including the great demigods. Tejavarim Ridam Yatha in the same way as one sees that the illusory potency of the Lord is so great that he can make one see land in the water, or water in the fire, like that. So, sometimes on the sea, the sailors, they see some land and they go there, but there is no land. It was an illusion, right? Or the travelers in a desert, they're very thirsty, they're looking for water because there is fire all around them, right? It's so hot. And then they see the lake at the horizon and they run there and then the lake disappears because it was mirage, right? So like that, so many illusions created by the Lord. And everybody is bewildered by those illusions. And so, because everyone is illusioned like that, everyone is under the influence of Maya, right? It's very difficult to overcome the material energy consisting of the three modes of nature. And Lord Shiva says that even us, great demigods, we're also under the influence of illusion, even though we come from the top batch, from those who, we are born of goodness, right? We're on the top level, and still on the top we cannot understand you. We're still bewildered, like Lord Shiva was bewildered. And we know the stories how Lord Shiva was bewildered. Of course, this is another story which introduces the bewilderment of Lord Shiva, right? But it's very interesting that Lord Shiva says in this verse that I'm bewildered by your illusory energy, but then he will be asking, can you show me your illusory energy? Because he was thinking, I will not become bewildered, but then he became bewildered, right? And this was not the first time. He became bewildered before, also, right? When he was trying to fight with the Supreme Lord, right? And we know how Lord Brahma got bewildered by Krishna, right? He took him for the ordinary coward boy, and then all the demigods. It's very interesting, right? How Lord Brahma prayed for the Supreme Lord to please come and protect the earth from all the demons. And the Lord sent him the voice message, right, to his into his heart. So that's the channel of communication with Kshiradakashaya Vishnu, with the super soul, right? And so he got this voice message, okay, I'm coming soon, so don't worry. And demigods have to come as well to assist me. And so at the same time, all the great demons also gathered on the earth planet, right? So the earth, more than 5,000 years ago, became a stage where the great battle, universal battle, happened between the greatest demons and greatest demigods, right? So this was the Kurukshetra battle, actually. And so this was the purpose, and then Krishna took birth, and Krishna was meant to kill all the demons. And the demigods, they were watching Krishna appear, and of course they offered him prayers already when he was in the womb of Devaki, right, as we know. And when Krishna appeared, he was their hope that he will destroy all these demons, right, and will be saved. Because demons are always trying to attack demigods and take over. But then, as we know, every time Krishna is fighting with some demon and he is playing with the demon, right? Like he allows himself to become defeated just for fun, right? And then he defeats the demigod, like Bakasura. He allows himself to be swallowed, right? and then he makes himself so hot that Bakasura had to spit Krishna out, and then he kills Bakasura. Or Agasura, he entered into the mouth of Agasura, allowed himself to be swallowed, right? But then he choked Bakasura from inside. It's very interesting, right? Choke someone from inside. Only Krishna can be that creative. And he blocked his throat inside. In Russia we have the saying that to block somebody's throat from inside, like that. That someone's trying to swallow you, and then you block somebody's throat, they cannot swallow you, right? It's very interesting, actually, because where these kind of proverbs are coming from, because, how can someone imagine like that, being swallowed and then blocking somebody's throat? Because it never happened, right, with anyone, but it happened with Krishna, so it must be that Krishna has always been known to every culture on the earth, etc. Yes, and all the demigods, they're so worried that, okay, if Krishna, even though they kind of philosophically understand that Krishna cannot be defeated, Krishna cannot die, but when it seems like Krishna is defeated and Krishna is dead, then they become very disturbed, right? And they start crying in anguish, and when Krishna emerges again, and then they become happy, and when after he defeats another demon, they throw so many flowers and they start huge tumultuous kirtan glorifying Krishna. So demigods were observing all this, but Brahma was not, because Brahma lives, Brahma's time scale is completely different from even other demigods, right? So Brahma's planet is the top planet in the material universe, Satyaloka, and his 1 minute is equal to the not even minute, but even less than minute, right? Like 1 moment of Brahma's life is equal to the whole year on earth. And so actually Brahma, missed all these things. He didn't observe. He couldn't realize that Krishna is that Supreme Lord whom he was praying to. And then all the demigods were saying that Krishna is the Supreme Lord and he kills all these demons. And when Brahma came to see, and then he saw Krishna being in the company of the cowherd boys and playing with them, having fun with them, different things they were doing, eating together, joking, and Krishna was eating, and he had prasadam in his left hand and eating with his left hand. And even young bhaktas in ISKCON, they know, right? You should not be using your left hand for eating. So, and all these standards, they come from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, and someone who is that ignorant, using left hand for eating, how in the world that can be the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Right? And Lord Brahma was very doubtful. And the way he was behaving himself was not at all divine way. It was just kind of very, what do you call it, frivolous, right? Actually, it's described that they were eating from one another's plate, like eating all together. Like the covered boys were eating, Krishna was eating. They were taking his prasadam, and Krishna was taking their prasadam. So like no standards, right? And Lord Brahma, he was completely confused, like how it is possible that Supreme Lord is not following any standards here. And then he observed one instance when, they all had a lot of nice food from home, but they were sitting there, and the only problem that they had only water to drink, right, from Yamuna. But one boy had buttermilk. This was Madhu Mangal, because his mother gave him buttermilk in the morning. And so he had this big pot with buttermilk, and he was enjoying buttermilk. And he is a Brahmana, and other boys are Vaishyas, so as a Brahmana he's not mixing up with, he just comes only for the sake of Krishna and not for the sake of anyone else. And so others, they kind of, share their food, but Madhu Mangal is, like very dignified, and he's sitting separate, and he has his, prasad and taking it all nicely and drinking his buttermilk. And Krishna is looking at Madhu Mangal, and he says, "Wow, looks like you have very nice buttermilk with you." And Madhu Mangal says, "Yes, I have very nice buttermilk." And of course, Krishna wants buttermilk, and he's trying to, kind of hint to Madhu Mangal that, can you share the buttermilk? But Madhu Mangal is not offering Krishna anything. And Krishna says, "Madhu, is that buttermilk really good?" And he says, "Yes, very nice, very tasty." But still not offering Krishna. And Krishna says, Krishna already lost all hope, and he realized, I have to tell this guy directly, otherwise he doesn't get any message. He says, "Madhu, can I try your buttermilk, please? I want to know if it is good." And Madhu Mangal says, "You don't have to try, I already tried, it is good." And Krishna says, "Madhu, I like buttermilk also. Can you please give me some of your buttermilk?" And Madhu Mangal says, "Krishna, I would love to give you my buttermilk, but just today, my mother only gave me enough for me." I don't have any extra buttermilk to share with you. Sorry, Krishna. And Krishna is thinking, what a greedy guy. Doesn't even want to share with me his buttermilk. And he's like really enjoying his buttermilk, right? That he's putting full mouth of buttermilk, and he's like pretty chubby, and his cheeks become big, and he keeps his buttermilk in the mouth for a while and closes his eyes and then swallows that buttermilk after some time, And Krishna is thinking, I'll show you. And once he puts his full mouth of buttermilk and closes his eyes, and his cheeks are puffed up with buttermilk, and then Krishna sneakily comes and he presses his cheeks like that, and the buttermilk comes like a fountain from his mouth, and then Krishna catches that buttermilk and drinks it. And after Brahma saw that happening, he said, no way. Krishna can never be the Supreme Personality of God. He's just an ordinary, ignorant boy. But all the demigods kept insisting, no, he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He just took this form. And Brahma says, he doesn't say, but he thinks, I'll prove to you that he is not. He's just a regular boy. And then he decides to steal the coward boys and cows to show the demigods that he will be just, aggrieved, and he wouldn't be able to do anything. And then it's very interesting how Krishna didn't prevent Brahma from stealing coward boys and cows. And he didn't even punish Brahma for the theft, for pilfering. He allowed Brahma to do what he wanted to do. And Krishna did what he wanted to do, right? He utilized that situation for his advantage and for the advantage of the other devotees. And so Krishna is so amazing, right? And after Brahma realized that stealing never affected Krishna in any way, shape or form, he still has all the cows and boys with him. He reproduced them again. And then Brahma was so bewildered, right? That when he came back and then he saw everyone was still there, and he was thinking, what happened? Didn't I steal them? How come that they are back? So he went and he checked in the place where he stored all the cows and boys, where they were hibernating. They were still there. He came back, they were playing here. And he got so confused, like with all his four heads, he couldn't figure it out. And then Krishna took pity on him, and then he helped him to realize that these are not the ordinary boys and cows, but these are the Vishnumurti's expansions of the Supreme Lord. And so he manifested himself as form of Vishnu through each calf and each boy manifested themselves as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So it's very interesting that Brahma's bewilderment was that he saw simplicity of the dealings in Vrindavan, very friendly, very closely, but he never saw any opulence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as Narayan, right? Because he identified the Supreme Lord as Narayan, and so he wanted to see Narayan in all opulence, this was his expectation, and Krishna overcompensated him in this pastime. Not only he saw one Narayan, but he saw unlimited Narayans. Each boy and each calf became unlimitedly, became fully opulent Lord Narayan, etc. And then Lord Brahma offered these prayers to Krishna in chapter 14 of the 10th canto, wherein he says a number of times that let other people say that they understand you. As far as I'm concerned, I have zero understanding of who you are. And this is called humility. This is very important for us, because in the 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, starting from text 8, the items of real knowledge are described. Right? And what are the first two items of knowledge? Amanitvam, Adambitvam, which means humility and pridelessness. So real knowledge starts with humility, and it's pretty interesting that knowledge gives a lot of advantages, right? And normally people become really proud of their knowledge. You can see that, like really well educated person goes into a village and dealing with some peasants and being very, very proud. And all these people, they are very humble in front of him because we are not educated, we are simple people, right? So knowledge gives a lot of control. This is what knowledge gives, right? If someone's really knowledgeable, like if someone knows law, for example, right? It gives a lot of power. And that's why in the material world, if someone is really well educated, then it means one will be really well situated in the society, high position, and naturally the risk is that think of oneself to be very special, very powerful, and develop pride. So this is the pitfall of knowledge. But real knowledge, spiritual knowledge, means one develops humility. And it's very interesting that, I don't remember the exact quote, but Albert Einstein, after all the studies of the universe, he said something like, the biggest thing I understood after all my studies is that I can't understand anything about the universe, right? So he realized himself as ignorant person after so much knowledge, and this is spiritual understanding. And so this is what spiritual knowledge is supposed to, the result spiritual knowledge is supposed to give. And one's supposed to become humble. Because as we know, as Srila Prabhupada points out in this purport, that in order to actually understand Krishna, we have to surrender unto Krishna and follow Pancharatra system, right? Because Pancharatra means we worship Krishna and we serve him. So realizing Pancharatra means to realize ourselves as Krishna's servants and surrender unto Krishna. And it's very interesting, Pancharatra system, which includes deity worship, right? But it's not just deity worship, it's everything. It's basically Vaishnav Sadachar, that the count of code of conduct, Vaishnava code of conduct, is also part of Pancharatra system. And in the famous series of lectures, if anyone haven't listened to those, I highly recommend. Srila Prabhupada gave on Nectar of Devotion in Vrindavan. He speaks about the standard of behavior of the Vaishnava, and he says how important Vaishnavas are. And he says, even if you are doing your puja, and if a devotee comes as a guest to see you, you have to interrupt your puja. You're in the middle of serving the Supreme Lord. You have to interrupt your puja and give your time and attention to your devotee guest. And after you finished, after he leaves, you can resume your puja. Right? So this is what Vaishnava Sadachar is teaching. This is what this is part of Pancharatra, that Pancharatra system, that we should serve the Supreme Lord, but we should understand that serving Vaishnavas is even higher. Why? Because Vaishnavas are very dear to the Supreme Lord, and so by serving Vaishnavas we please the Supreme Lord even better than we please Him directly. Right? Because by serving the Supreme Lord, and unfortunately it does happen many, many times, we can become very proud. Just imagine, like, I'm the servant of the Supreme Lord. It's like, even if someone is serving directly, what's the name again of the Prime Minister of Australia? Scott Morrison. So if someone is serving directly Scott Morrison, then one can become really proud, right? I'm assistant, who am I? I'm direct assistant of Scott Morrison, right? Make sure I understand who we're dealing with, right? But who is Scott Morrison? With all due respect, it's just, we respect definitely he had to do something special to acquire such a powerful position, right? He had to do something for Krishna, please Krishna directly or indirectly, to acquire this powerful position. But comparatively, there are so many countries on this little planet, and so many planets in this universe, and this is the smallest universe in the entire creation. So who is Scott Morrison? Comparing to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? And so, but even if someone is serving someone on a very high level, then the tendency is to become a little bit proud of one's position. What to speak of? Identifying myself as the servant of the Supreme Lord, right? But for this particular reason, we are taught not to identify ourselves in this way. We are taught to identify ourselves as servants of the servants of the servants, right? Dasa, dasa, anudas, and most insignificant of all the servants, right? The smallest of all the servants. Jivara Svarupa Hoy Dasa, dasa, anudasa. And it implies humility, right? So that's the idea. With humility, we can understand the Supreme Lord. And if you look at the 6 elements of Sharanagati, what is the ultimate element. Anukulyasya sankalpa pratikulyasya vardhana rakshishyati iti vishvaso kotprikte varanam tata atmanikshepa karpamya shatvika sharanagata. Surrender unto Krishna is consisting of 6 elements, right? And what are the first 2 elements? Anyone can tell us?
Idea.
No, this is Bhakti Thakur explains, but Lord Chaitanya explains starting with 2, somehow Bhakti Thakur goes from the last to the first, but Lord Chaitanya goes from first to the last. So what are the first 2? What are the first 2 things we have to do to surrender to Krishna? Nobody knows. At least theoretically. You're supposed to know how to surrender. If you're planning to do it at all. So the first 2 is Anukulyasya Sankalpa, Pratikulyasya Vardhana, which means
Accepting what's favorable and rejecting what's
yes,
unfavorable.
accepting what's favorable, rejecting what's unfavorable. And then Rakshishyati iti vishvaso gopritve varanam tata. Second 2 elements are accepting Krishna as one's protector and one's starts with M. Maintainer, yes. And then the last 2 elements are Atmanikshepa and Karpanya. Atmanikshepa means same thing like Atmanivedan, which means full surrender. Surrendering your entire self, and Karpanya means humility, right? So we can understand that humility is the topmost level of surrendering unto Krishna. But it starts with accepting favorable and rejecting unfavorable, right? So, and this is all what Pancharatra system describes. Yeah, because in order to serve the Supreme Lord properly, we have to follow the rules and regulations, but at the same time not become servants of the rules and regulations, but use the rules and regulations to please the Supreme Lord. So that's the idea. This is what Lord Shiva is explaining here. That if we develop humility, then we can understand the Supreme Lord. Why? Because actually He is the most humble person of all. It's really amazing how humble Krishna is, right? That being the Supreme Lord, He is serving every living entity all the time, right? Fulfilling everybody's desire, looking after everyone. There are so many mind-blowing episodes in Krishna's life when He was here, right? That when everyone gathered for Rajasuya Yagya, anyone remembers, everybody was performing different services. Anyone remembers what Krishna did? What kind of service Krishna was doing for the guests?
Washing the feet.
That's right. Krishna was washing everybody's feet. The Supreme Personality of Godhead was washing everyone's feet. And of course, when Sudama Brahman came, washed his feet. And when Vidura was feeding him, by mistake, he was giving him banana peels. Krishna was humbly eating banana peels. Can you imagine? Krishna is so humble. and humbly driving Arjuna's chariot, and not just driving the chariot, but cleaning the horses and keeping the chariot clean. So, Krishna is the most humble personality. And so if we want to understand Krishna, this is what it takes. That's why it's considered to be the topmost achievement in Bhakti, to develop humility. Trinada Pisanichana, Tarora Pisahishmana, Manina Manadana Kirtanya Sudahari. That's why all the acharyas are saying that this verse we should wear around our mind like a garland. Always remember this verse. Hare Krishna. Anyone has any comments, questions? Or everyone is too humble?
Just one small comment about Krishna being Arjuna's chariot driver. I remember hearing in a class that the way a chariot is driven in the Vedic, like military science, is that the driver, the person who's actually controlling the chariot, he actually kicks the driver to tell him, okay, you go right. So he kicks him with his right foot, kicks him with his left foot. So Krishna was actually being kicked by Arjuna for the whole battlefield and go like this, just to underscore his humility.
Yeah. And if we are not humble, we can't really relate to Krishna. What kind of God is that? You know? He's kicked around. He's washing people's legs, eating banana peels. I don't know what. I don't want to have this kind of God. Give me some, God who is like really proud of himself, right? That's why some people don't want to worship Krishna, they want to worship somebody else. But they don't understand that this is why Krishna is forever the Supreme Lord, because he is the best in everything, and humility is such an important quality for any leader that in our Mayapur leadership school, one of the teachers is regional director of Harvard Business School, and it's very interesting. I was asking him about Harvard business courses, which are of course like costing so much. It's mind-blowing. Like the average is $2,000 a day per person, or $500,000 per corporate group for the course. It's like unbelievable how expensive their courses are, but they don't spend this money for their own self-gratification, because they're scientists and they are not into kind of gross self-gratification. They are interested in research, and so they're spending hundreds of millions of dollars for research work, and they come up with amazing statistics because they do these surveys, etc. And he told us that one survey they did in corporations is that what are the two most what are the qualities of the leader in a leader employees value. And the two qualities which came to the top of the charts were humility and compassion. It's really amazing. Humility will not go up. But every single employee wants to see humility in his leader, or his or her leader. And Krishna is the most humble. That's why he is the Supreme Lord forever. There is no chance to have re-election, because Krishna is the best, because he has the most amazing qualities. And this is the most amazing quality, that even though he is the best in everything, and he is the most humble as well. Anyone else has anything?
Oftentimes when we're in a position of leadership, we find this, it may be difficult to find humility in ourselves because we have some responsibility. We have to get something done. So how does one counter that kind of tendency to control when in a position of leadership, and actually develop humility when it may become very gray when the scenario?
Yeah, the tendency is to be carried over by the desire for results. But if we always remember just that our prime responsibility is to make sure that the devotees under our care should be happy in Krishna consciousness. And so if we focused on that result, then we won't be carried away by the fruited mentality. Because it's there, this danger is there. Use people to produce results and become kind of famous for certain achievements. But it's really important to remember that all the achievements will stay in this world. Devotees are the ones who are going to the spiritual world, and so our result, real result, is how much devotees under our care are Krishna conscious. And the more one is Krishna conscious, the more one is enthusiastic and happy, right? So, and this is the duty of any Krishna conscious leader. And so for achieving that goal, one has to become very tolerant, very humble, and very respectful. Right? All right. Thank you. We'll finish here. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Prabhupada ki jai, Rasayana Sagar Swami ki jai.